tackle the Col de Colombière, not to be confused with the Grand Colombiere, which is in the Jura. They went over that initially as Tour de France. This is in the RV, a bit closer to my neck of the woods. It's one of the more popular cols of the tour. It's been over at least 23 times, plus 6 or 7 for the Dauphiné as well. So today I'm doing it from the north side. There are a few different options on where to start. I've come from Colombiere, which is on the outskirts of Cluse, but you can also start from Marnaz if you come from the Bonville direction. So again, depending exactly what you define as the start, that defines how long it is, but it's at least 16 kilometres in length. The sign that I started at gives 17.3. Average is about 6 to 7% gradient. Again, partly depends on what you call as the start, because the first kilometre or so is pretty flat. So it's a climb of 2 sections really. The first part of the climb from the valley bottom down here up to Reposoir, which, if you remember from my Col de Romme video, is where you finish if you've gone over the Col de Romme first. And after that you've got the much harder second half of the climb up to the top of the col. So the lower half of the climb averages around 6 or 7%, and there's a couple of kilometres of almost flat at Le Reposoir, and then the upper half of the climb averages more like 8%, but it's the final 2 or 3 kilometres which is the hardest, the final one being over 12% I think. So it's a long old climb with a tough finish, and although it's not that high at 1600 metres, it's definitely starting to get up into the reaches of the high Alps. Thankfully much of this lower half is in the shade and the tree cover, because it's hot down here. We're starting in the low plains at around 500 metres above sea level, and the climb totals around 1100 metres of elevation gain, so quite a big climb for a continuous climb, but of course nothing compared to the likes of the Colombiere. Because most of this first section of the climb is under tree cover, not much in the way of view to show you, but I'm not complaining too much because it's 35 degrees out in the plains, so very thankful for the shade, as well as the cool air coming off the mountains. A little bit of view. So we're just past the 10 kilometre to go sign, and the road's completely flattened out here. Officially this kilometre is 2%, but it's basically flat. So we're definitely approaching the Reposoir now, which I'm getting a lot better at saying. Yeah, look how flat it is. So this is Le Reposoir coming up, 8 kilometres to go. This way you start to get some good views. Plant Percy's up there to my left, you can't quite see it now, but you can see it a second ago. The road we passed just back there is where the Col de Romme joins this road. And over here on the left is the last place to get water. I'm going to stop. So if you've watched my other videos, the Reposoir should look familiar to you, because that's where I finished my Col de Romme video. And you remember from that I said that in most of the recent iterations of the Tour and the Dauphiné, they combine both the Col de Romme and the Col de Colombière, which is a fairly brutal combination. Both category 1 climbs in their own right. Definitely feels like a category 2 when doing, an HC climb when you're doing back to back. And yeah, this top half of the Col de Colombière, these final 7 kilometres or so, much harder than the lower half. So the lower half of the climb up to the Reposoir is a fairly major 2-lane road the whole way up. Above the Reposoir it gets progressively narrower and windier. At this point it's just about 2 lanes wide, but bugger off fly. The final 2 or 3 kilometres is a little more than a single track road, so yeah, it gets narrower and more intimidating the further up you get. Three kilometres to go, each one gets harder and harder from here. This one's 9%, next one's 10%, final one's 11% I think. Still got graffiti on the road from the 2 or 3 years ago. Cowbells, Symphony of the Alps. It's nice to finally make one of these videos without bonking or nearly giving myself heat stroke. I mean, having the tree cover lower down certainly helps, as does doing the ride later in the day, indeed in the evening. So the hardest part of the climb, the sun was already down behind the mountains, which made a huge difference. So from here you can either back the way you came all the way down to the bottom of the valley, or you can go partway down to the Reposoir and then go over the Col de Romme, which is possibly what I'm going to do on the way home. Or indeed you can continue over the Col de Colombière down, and then you can go on a much longer ride and you can tack on the Col de as well, or head off towards Annecy or wherever. So there's lots of options from here, and I've done several loops in both directions going over this col. So it's quite a popular spot both for me and for Tour de France and for everyone else. It's definitely nice having a bar and cafe greet you when you get to the top, somewhere to get a nice cool ice cream or a cold drink or even a beer if you're not already too dehydrated. And yeah, you can brave the long fast descent after having a alcohol in your bloodstream, but yeah. It's a beautiful spot up here, stunning views. Reasonably busy, but yeah, not the busiest col you'll go over, like compared to the Colombiere or some of the really big ones, for example. And yeah, even though it's a pretty narrow road, unless you're doing it kind of early afternoon in peak season, it's not too crazy in terms of cars and other vehicles overtaking you, so yeah. Quite an enjoyable climb, and it's a good road surface because the Tour comes over here so often, so yeah, definitely one I recommend.